Great. Good evening, everyone. We start tonight's meeting before the council meeting with a public hearing. So it is, and it's just two quick public hearings. Well, the first is a public hearing on Tuesday, April 8th at 7:20 for proposed local law in 2025 concerning a local law to amend Chapter 156, peddling, soliciting, and transient merchants. It's code 156-17, license fees for peddling, and 156-35, fees for mobile food units. And we will, if there's anybody here from the public who'd like to address either of these two, this one change in the code, two changes in the code, please come forward and give us your name and address.
Eric Unkoff, the Shirt Factory in Glens Falls. You've gotten a lot of emails from me regarding 156 here over the last few weeks. In preparing for tonight, I finally looked at the other section that you're talking about here, and in it, 156.13 says, "Nothing in this article shall be held to apply to farmers and persons who produce such commodities, or to dealers in milk, baked goods, meats, fish, fruit, and other similar produce." And this is a section that includes the exemption for the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts and charitable organizations, etc., etc. So the other thing that I'm concerned about with the hawking and peddling, since we're talking about the Girl Scouts and the Boy Scouts and whatnot, and we're talking about the peddling fee, does the city intend to charge a fee now for non-food vendors? So that's one question I have. The other question is, the city attorney in an earlier meeting indicated that the fee that the city charges has to be based on the cost to the city, and I don't think anyone would argue that. The question is that if the city is able to establish a 1-week permit for $25 for a food vendor, then what is the additional cost to the city to issue, say, a permit for Thursday market that takes course over 17 weeks? I can't think of what the additional cost is, but maybe the city has something in mind that I'm unaware of. As I stated in the email, the Department of Health is able to, whether you go in for one event or 10 events in Warren County, as long as you put it on one permit, they charge you $30. And they have the additional expense of sending out people into the field to actually do the DOH inspections. So that's where I'm asking where the city is kind of saying that they need to get a flat fee of $100 for that same, for a lesser amount of work, at least in my opinion. What else here? So that's it. That's what I wanted to say.
Great.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else who'd like to comment on the amend chapter 156, the proposal to amend it, -17 for license fees and peddling, and 156-35 fees for mobile food units? Do we have time? So we'll wait just quietly for one more minute, and then we'll open the second public hearing. We'll now close the public hearing on local law 25 concerning amended chapter 156 and open public hearing on proposed law 2025. It's still April 24th, or excuse me, April 8th at 7:25. We're amending the city code 153- Parks and Recreation and code 91 dogs based on the recommendation from the Rec Commission. And if there's anybody from the public who'd like to address those changes in city code, we'd love you to come up and tell us your name and address. If not, we'll sit quietly for a few moments. We'll now close the public hearing on local law, City Code 153, Parks and Recreation, and 91 dogs, based on the recommendation of our Rec Commission. It's now 7:30 and time for us to open up our regular common council session. We begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Could I ask you to all rise and be Councilman Lapham to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd now like to call up our department, Izzy Modar, our deputy chief, and some firefighters. We'd like to take a moment before this council meeting to recognize our firefighters and our mutual aid EMS departments for life-saving action during the destruction While en route, dispatch confirmed that there was a resident in the building. This became a rescue scenario that needed to be addressed prior to anything else. And while members addressed the rescue issue at hand, a few others of the members continued to work outside by catching the hydrant and pulling the lines needed to put the fire out. Others brought equipment to move on what is now Mrs. Osier from the second floor, the same unit the fire had originated. Others were making sure the building was evacuated and everyone was out. Not only did they successfully rescue Mrs. Osier, but also were able to evacuate 8 other residents of this building. The quick work by these officers and the firefighters kept the fire in the original apartment with the unit and only water damage being done to the unit below. Mrs. Osier required immediate medical attention and soon was removed from the building. Mutual aid units were already on the scene and the fire department was able to transfer Mrs. Osier to West Glens Falls EMS department, and she was flown to Westchester, where she stayed for several weeks. Then she was transferred to Glens Falls Hospital and continued treatment for 3 more weeks, and then 1 week at the rehab at the Pines. And I want to make sure we take a moment here to recognize Mrs. Osier and these firefighters for their bravery and what they did. I'll turn this over to Deputy Chief Motor to issue some awards. Thank you.
First, I want to thank the council members, the mayor, also Deputy Clerk for being here tonight, and as well as the families of these gentlemen that are standing before you, as well as Mr. Osier. Thank you for being here as well. And least but not last, Ms. Rebecca Osier for being here and making it through your recovery efforts. Tonight I'd like to honor the A crew on that day, and I will read you their life-saving award unit citation. On Wednesday, January 15th, 2025, at 11:15 a.m., the City of Glens Falls Fire Department responded to a fire incident at 158 Bay Street. Multiple emergency calls were received prior to our arrival, reporting significant fire activity. Fires in older buildings such as this one often present unique challenges in containment and extinguishment. From the onset of this incident, you and your crew encountered numerous obstacles, including a rapidly progressing fire, threatening other floors of the structure, and critical rescue of a resident from the second floor. Despite these challenges, the members of A crew successfully executed the rescue of an unconscious, wheelchair-bound resident from the second floor of the fire building. This rescue required significant manpower and coordination under extraordinary conditions, including zero visibility and the necessity to navigate the interior stairwell. The victim required immediate medical attention, which you and your team provided while ensuring their safety. Following this life-saving rescue, you directed fire suppression efforts that successfully contained the fire to its unit of origin, minimizing damage to the surrounding units. This outcome reflects your crew's abilities, decisiveness, unwavering commitment to life and safety and property preservation. The actions of A Crew on January 15, 2025 demonstrated exceptional professionalism, courage, and dedication to duty. The traits displayed not only reflected positively on you, but also exemplified the values and capabilities of the City of Glens Falls Fire Department. The strength, skill, and perseverance you and your team exhibited during this challenging event embody the high standards of service our community relies upon. On behalf of the department and the City of Glens Falls, this letter serves as a formal commendation for your exemplary behavior and dedication to public service. Please accept our sincere gratitude and recognition for your role in this incident, as well as Ms. Ocher. So, without further ado, and the assistance of Ms. Ocher, I would like to call up Ryan Ward, who is not here tonight because he's at the Fire Academy. But his wife is here, Miss Carly Ward, and her daughters, Tinsley and Macy, who will be receiving the award for him. Next will be Firefighter Spezio. Next is Firefighter Connor Timms. Next will be Miros Formanek. Next will be Firefighter John Hoover. Next will be Senior Firefighter Gary Stillman. And even though he is not on the A Crew, he is our fire prevention officer who is admin. And so thankfully he was there that day to assist in this endeavor. Lieutenant Aaron Wharf. Lieutenant Ordway is not here this evening. He is out, I would say, clean on his U.S. Coast Guard reserve time. Only because he's on the boat, but it's cold right now, so I don't feel so bad for him. But he is on his reserve time with the U.S. Coast Guard, and Captain Stafford will be accepting his certificate while he's out. Since he is not here, we'll move forward with Captain Rick Stafford. Now, with this endeavor, in most things in life, when it gets hard, you need help. And in this case, we need every bit of manpower we needed for that day. These 8 gentlemen that are on the stage with you, minus Ordway, was needed in getting Miss Ozier out, I'm sorry. So mutual aid had to come into play. West Glens Falls EMS was called, as well as Queensbury EMS was called. So with their gratitude, West EMS were the ones that took Miss Ozier from the scene to the helicopter that was awaiting them, giving her the medical attention that she needed to survive to that point. So with that being said, I will read you the plaque that we're giving to West Glens Falls EMS. It's a life-saving award presented to West Glens Falls EMS. On January 15th, 2025, the West Glens Falls EMS, along with individuals, Cursor White, if you will come up please, Landon Weaver, Mackenzie Allen, Charlie Lombardo, and Crystal Guy, were honored with a life-saving award in recognition of their heroic actions and swift response in a critical emergency situation. Their courage, teamwork, and dedication to saving lives exemplify the highest standards of service and community commitment. On behalf of the City of Glens Falls Fire Department, thank you. Shane, I didn't get your last, but I got something else for you. So, Queensbury EMS, they served a dual purpose that day. And I got a little bone to pick with the mayor and the council, but it's all been fine.
Okay.
So not only did they supply an EMS rig to give us the support while West Glens Falls was out, their EMS were there for us, your firemen were working on scene and made sure that if we had any medical issues, they were. But they also brought the rehab bus. That rehab bus was I won't say a gift, but was able to be utilized by Queensbury, which was once a transport unit for the City of Glens Falls when you guys merged with the company that we use now. So thankfully to your support of the surrounding areas and providing the necessary needs, they were able to use it on a call in your city. So this is a life-saving award for Queensbury EMS, and if you're here, you can come up. On January 15th, 2025, the Queensbury EMS, along with individuals, Allison Bailey, Jack Bartlett, Shane Irwin, Joe Family, and John Smith, were honored with a life-saving award in recognition of their heroic actions and swift response in a critical emergency situation. Their courage, teamwork, and dedication to saving lives exemplify the highest standards of service and community commitment. On behalf of the City of Glens Falls Fire Department, thank you. So once again, thank you for the families who came for this event, and thank you for the council members for allowing this to happen and showing support for your department. I'll hand it back to him here.
No, I just... Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, congratulations. Next up, we'll open the Common Council meeting for public comment. Anybody who'd like to address the Common Council, please come up and give us your name and address. You're welcome to stay. I'll It's going to be a civics test later. Tom, did you want to come up?
That's a hard act to follow right there.
For all of us, Tom.
Yeah,
It's okay.
I agree. The reason why I came was our permit for Maple Street has been narrowed down to only the month of May. Right, but I wanted to maybe give the council a little bit of insight on, so that we could get it extended again. And the reason why is I did extensive work with Zonta and with LARAC to revise and map so we wouldn't be on Maple Street and that we would be in the parking lot at the TD Bank. So if you want to look at, we just got this in, it's fresh off the press if everybody wants to look at it. It kind of makes us behind the TD Bank tellers so that Zonta and LARAC can have the front of the parking lot. And I also talked heavily with Elizabeth Mahoney and with the law offices of them. And then I also I'm trying to get a hold of 333 Glen Street so that we can use the parking garage and the parking for that, because I don't think anybody's even tried to get into that parking lot. I also talked to Dr. Westfeld, and they also gave me a verbal. The 333 Glen Street, they haven't given me a verbal, but I've left 2 messages with them. Just so you know, our Facebook value when we posted it went to 101,760 people looked at it. And there was a lot of great comments. The comments were fabulous, great idea, should make it a new market home. The construction, the biggest problem I have is the construction on South Street, as we all know, has made it a huge bottleneck to try to get anybody safely through that corridor as far as for parking or for handicapped people or anything like that. That's why I'm asking for an extension in that project. Ed Moore, like I say, was gracious enough to give us the parking lot, allow us, if we needed power there, we could do that. Also use the bathrooms at the Queensbury, and then of course the library also has bathrooms, so we didn't have to worry about trying to get public bathrooms. So that's the reason why I'm here. Just wanted everybody on the council to know what's going on, and I think it would be a very favorable thing for the city to have us on Maple Street. Okay, and extend it.
Well,
I think
I can't extend it because there's 71 events that are scheduled in the city, but what you should do is come and speak to the staff. I've already asked them to look at everyone that uses the park, because even the ones that don't use Maple Street tend to use the same parking lot for it. But I think it's a great idea, Tom. If what we should do is get that list together and communicate with those people.
Right.
I wouldn't want to, let's take an event that might have happened the last 4 or 5 years and agree to put you either in wherever it is you wanted to go. We don't have an issue with it. We just want to make sure we're not interrupting what other people are doing. That's all. So we get you. I didn't want to say no, so we got you through the month of May, which is what we had originally talked about. Come back into the staff. Let's get the full list of all the activities that are happening down there and work with you and those people to make sure everybody's happy.
Well, then something must have been a skew here because of the fact that when we did originally talk, we did talk to make it at least till June, if not July before that. And there was no other talk about, only thing I had to do was for Zonta and for Larac. I didn't know about any other 90 events
No,
or
that's
whatever
why
that
we
was
did.
there. And I wish you would have been more forthcoming with that.
That's why it was a shock to me. We thought you were moving in after we opened up in May. And so we thought that the request was just until June 1st, and when it changed, what you're hearing from me is what we all talked about. There are many events that happen, and so we certainly didn't think that you wanted to stay that long until fall. We don't have a concern with it. We just want to look at that and the other events. There are many more that it would affect, but it doesn't, not necessarily in a negative way, right, Tom? So
I think that the thing that I'm saying is that the opening isn't even until the 16th. And with the current delays that are going on with the thing, it probably won't open until at least sometime in June.
no, that's just so you know, that's not the case, but that's okay. We're okay with it. We're okay with you wanting to. Let's get together and look at all the events, and we'll extend it beyond June if you still want to, and if it works with all the events that are happening in the area. Okay?
All right.
All right.
Just another point too, though, South Street does have, and Elm Street do have encroachment permits that narrow down traffic through, I believe, September.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that,
That's
to your point.
exactly what my point is.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to get anybody down through there, any parking or any customers, it's almost going to be impossible. You've already had problems with the brick and mortar stores and restaurants that are there are complaining because they can't get foot traffic there.
And also we've been going through issues with accessibility through there.
Right.
And we're still working through that, so
Right.
I can understand your concern.
Thank you.
Again, Eric Unkoff with the Shirt Factory. Resolution 22 is for a bunch of mobile permits for food vendors. And we had one last Common Council, and I didn't really pick up on it, but that vendor was charged a $500 fee for a 6-month permit. And when I asked, he was told that, hey, the resolution didn't pass, we're going back to the old way of doing things, you need to pay a $500 permit, which he did. His first event, and talked to him because I was like, Tommy, what's the issue? Did you need this where you're going to be doing an event next week or something? He's like, no, I'm doing your events and I'm doing LIRAC. And the first event that he's doing for me is May 15th. So it wasn't like it was exactly like, oh my God, we got to get this done. And so my question is, on Resolution 22, are any of these other food trucks going to be paying fees right now? Because I thought what we were doing was we were trying to resolve 156 and then come up with the fee schedule, but not, we're kind of like, we're saying we're doing one thing and then we're going back and doing something else, and I'm trying to explain to my vendors what's going on, and I've already had, like I sent an email, one vendor just basically be like, I'm done with Glens Falls because I don't know what's happening. And a lot of these vendors, I mean, they have their schedules planned out. Like, if you talk to them January 1st, they know everything they're doing for the whole year. It's all planned out. And they're going to do the same thing next year and the year after. No one has to be in Glens Falls. If you scare them off, they'll go to some other event and they won't necessarily ever come back. So that's the issue I'm dealing with, because every Tuesday I come to a common council, and then it's just kind of like, well, I haven't a freaking clue. I don't know what's going on. Maybe this is going to go this way, maybe it's not. And now where I've got people that are kind of getting skittish, that's the question from my email. What do I tell my vendors? And it's like, and that was before, I had the thing with Tommy, and the $500 fee there. And then, now before, like I said, reading that 156.13, where it seems to exempt farm vendors, it seems to exempt people if you have retired from military service and you have an honorable discharge. It seems to have an exemption for that, like you don't have to pay a fee. And again, 156 is like supremely screwed up. I know there's a lot of issues there. I know you're ignoring stuff that you don't want to deal with, and you cherry pick some of the stuff that you do want to deal with, and the fee schedule's all out of whack. I understand, but I just guess I need to wrap my head around what's happening. But the thing with the solicitors and the hawkers is like, the hawkers and the peddlers here, I don't know if that's what like a non-food vendor is, because now there's that whole section in there about the Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts and all this other stuff, and now I've got in the farm vendors. So now I'm thinking it's like, okay, and that's something that we haven't had a discussion about, but maybe there should be a discussion about, because honestly I don't know what the city's thinking at all on that, and I don't know whether that's something that's applicable and something that or whether it's just a door-to-door salesman that this qualifies for, which it's kind of not, because you're talking about, Girl Scouts setting up outside someplace and selling Girl Scout cookies. So that's it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hi there. My name is Mary Beth Chambers. I'm a resident of Horicon Avenue in Glens Falls, and I just wanted to inform all of you of an exciting initiative that we're taking as parents and volunteers at the middle school. We're trying to get more kids to bike to school, and we want them to do it safely. We're looking to increase attendance, promote safe biking habits and healthy routines. We're also working with some other volunteers who are providing bike repair to the kids. Matter of fact, today I'll pass around, but we have the bike repair at the middle school. What we'd like to do, and what we're planning on doing, is trying to assist kids in getting to school safely on their bikes. In elementary school, they do something called a bike rodeo, and they're usually still riding with parents, but by the middle school, they're more independent, and they should really be able to ride on their own and feel safe. But sometimes they may not have a buddy down the street, so we're trying to network the kids together and help them get to school safely. I'll pass these around for you. Hi,
My name's Erica Shelke. I live on Coolidge Ave. I'm the parent of a 5th grader at the middle school. He's been in the Glens Falls School District since kindergarten. So I was fortunate enough that I got to walk into school with him almost every day for 4 years to Kensington. There are a lot of reasons that my husband and I decided to buy a house in Glens Falls, even though we work in Saratoga. So one of them is that Glens Falls is a small district and it's a walking district, and we really like the sense of community. So I saw the benefits firsthand of walking or biking in with my son. He got to burn off energy. It was social. We were with other families. We were with parents. And there's a lot of research about how much exercise and time outside benefits kids, not only mentally, but socially, in terms of learning and retention. So I was really excited to hear about this initiative and just wanted to share my perspective as a parent, why I'm really happy to see this happening and have been involved with the planning and plan on volunteering. I have the flexibility to go with my son to school, but now that he's in middle school, most kids do go by themselves, and we unfortunately don't have anybody on our couple of blocks who routinely walks or bikes in. So I've still been going with him, but not every family has a parent who can safely go with their child to school. Not every kid has somebody that they can bike with, and I know that the council's been addressed about traffic concerns by the school. It is sobering to go in. I do not feel totally comfortable with him arriving on his own at that school with the amount of car traffic there is. So this will cut down on car traffic. There's safety in numbers. There will be parents biking with the kids. So I wanted to share my perspective as a parent. I think it's just a great way to build on what our kids are learning in the elementary schools.
Thank you.
Hi. I'm Russell Barnhart. I live on Garfield Street right here in Glens Falls. I'd also like to talk about the bike bus briefly. I have 4 points that I'd like to go over, and then after that I'll add a little color, and I have a couple questions that I'd like to ask you guys. Number one, in a 2022 survey conducted by Bike Glens Falls, over half the participants indicated that a lack of bicycle infrastructure was the main reason they didn't bike more frequently. Number two, in the 2025 Glens Falls Smart Growth Comprehensive Plan Survey, so this happened at the second half of February this year, more than 60% of participants indicated that they would like to see improved walkability, including sidewalks and bike lanes. In December of last year, the North Country Public Radio website published an article on the topic of chronic absenteeism at schools across New York State. The Glens Falls School District was specifically mentioned in this article, having reduced chronic absenteeism from 34% during COVID down to 22% by the end of 2024. Now I understand that this number has continued to decrease over time, but I think we can all agree that this is a number that never will really be low enough, and we can always continue to work on it. And number four, better known as the Consolidated Laws of New York State, Chapter 71, Title 7, Article 34, Section 1231. It states, traffic laws apply to persons riding bicycles or skating or gliding on inline skates. Every person riding a bicycle or skating or gliding on inline skates upon a roadway shall be granted all the rights and shall be subject to all the duties applicable to the driver of vehicle by this title. This continues, but I'll spare you the legalese. I think that the relevant there is that they should be granted all of the rights and all the duties, so they are equal participants on the road to all of their vehicle operators. A few weeks ago, I heard about the bike bus. I heard that some parents in Glens Falls School District were working to start a bike bus. I didn't know what a bike bus was, so I looked it up. And it turns out it's a group of children and families riding bikes to school together along a set route. After doing a little bit more bike bus research, I decided that I wanted to volunteer. As a parent, and someone who used a bicycle as their primary means of transportation for years, I've experienced the benefits of biking firsthand. Improved mental and physical health, a greater connection with community, and then the environmental concerns as well. On top of all that, numerous studies have concluded that a reduction in car traffic ultimately results in improved roadway safety. So I rolled up my sleeves and I Googled Glens Falls bike bus. The top result was obviously what I wanted, so I clicked on it, but I got an error, not found. So I reached out to the parents I was talking about before, and they let me know that the bike bus webpage was taken down because there was pushback from the city. Now, based on the results of the survey that I touched on in the beginning, as well as ongoing work to reduce chronic absenteeism in our schools, it seemed like the idea of a bike bus helping kids get to school safely made sense. It's not clear to me why any city official would try to insert themselves into the situation, especially in a blocking fashion. I would have expected help connecting the dots, things like pointing police and crossing guards to the webpage with planned routes, or thanking the people working and or volunteering their personal time to get this off the ground. I do not know the specifics of the pushback, who it came from, or what it contained, but I do know that the people of New York State are permitted by law to get together, plan a route, and ride bikes. And that's what we're talking about here. This bike bus is exactly that. So I'm kind of curious to know what the holdup is, who's pushing back, and why.
There is no pushback. We've asked for information. We've asked to speak to know what events they are, fill out an application so we know is the school organizing this or the parents. And so we need to understand that and take it to the Board of Public Safety so that they can make recommendations the way we would for any use of a park or anything else. But sounds good to us. You're telling us that you want to do an event. We're asking you for more information.
Not an event.
Not an event.
This is a bunch of people trying to get kids to school safely. And the mention of permits or fees.
No, we don't. We just want to understand the event, and that's all.
It's not an
Not an
event.
event.
So then you don't need anything from us. You can help kids ride to school. We were told that it was being an event like hosted by the school. There was a series of weeks that you were going to do it. But if we misunderstood, then you're welcome. I mean, obviously anybody can ride with kids to school on any given day. You don't need permission for anything. But if you were running an event, so you'll see my misunderstanding, not mine, but my community development director's misunderstanding. Any event that is happening that involves our roadways or our parks or anything else, we ask for information and we try to collect that information so we know what's going on. We can support those events. So if you're just talking about a group of people and this isn't put on by the school, and you're just having a group of people that want to ride with bike kids to school, obviously, absolutely, have at it. Let us know, we'll spread the word, whatever. But again, it's more of understanding that, right? I was pretty sure what I had read was suggesting a certain amount of days and times that you were going to do it, and we wanted to make sure that we could maybe support it. It seems like those are high traffic times too, because they were going to school. But again, if the misunderstanding, it's not an event, and you're just letting us know that you're riding your kids to school, we wish you well.
There will be planning that is required. The way the bike bus works is there is a route, and it goes to a destination, and people join that route as it makes its progress. So there has to be communication about it. But it's no more different than you and I saying we want to go to a football game at the high school, and I'll meet you at your house on the way there.
Yeah, well, then that's fine. But if it was more and you wanted our support so we could maybe do something to help you, then we certainly would do that. But we'd ask for information. And we treat it like an event, even if it's a series of events or every day. But it's okay, either way. Certainly you're not going to get any pushback from anybody.
I think there's already some pushback that's coming from the Board of Public Safety, because there is something being circulated around to prohibit bicycles on the sidewalk, which I feel like, especially kids, because they're saying kids 10 and over would be prohibited from the sidewalk. I would say the sidewalk should be a safe place for somebody to go if they feel threatened in the roadway, especially when you start talking about 50 or 60% of the people, adults, surveyed say that they feel that we have inadequate pedestrian and bicycle facilities in the city. And that the city's acknowledged that we're trying to build out some bike lanes, and that we're in the process of doing that. So the safer thing to do would be to allow, when somebody feels threatened on the roadways, to go up on the sidewalks, especially kids going to school or coming home from school. So that's one thing that I've heard that's going through with Board of Public Safety. So I would say that is an example of some pushback that you might like to know about. I think I would also recommend going to the Board of Public Safety.
That's tomorrow.
And describing exactly what you're looking to do, and set them, straight about that the streets are available for everybody, that the public right-of-way is there for everybody, We're not telling people that they can't go on the sidewalks right now. I would like to even say that children should be able to go on the sidewalks in this walking school district. And I think active transportation is something that New York State Department of Transportation is 100% behind. So that's my 2 cents on the matter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Tom Roach. I'm on the board of the Fort Edwards Farmers Market Association. I just felt compelled to come up here to let you guys know that we appreciate the work that your office is doing with Tom and our board. We look forward to another great summer in Glens Falls. But I also want to convey the work that goes behind putting on a farmers market every week, okay, 52 weeks a year. Sometimes we're the only game in town on a Saturday morning in Glens Falls from 8 to 12 that bring people to Glens Falls. We provide a service to all the people that live in and outside of Glens Falls. There's a lot of trepidation in our membership right now because our future is uncertain. We have an application in front of you for Maple Street. Right now I'm understanding that that's to the end of May, and then you've said we'll talk about working with some other events. Tom's put a lot of work behind this, talking this on his own, and Larrick and trying to come up with a solution. The issue is this: if the building opens up after May 16th or for June, we already talked about the construction and the fences on the sidewalk, parking for people getting down there. Our vendors make a living that Saturday morning. If that construction even affects 20% of the people coming to that building, it's going to be detrimental to our membership. And some of our members are saying, hey, is Glens Falls welcoming us? Did they make this building for us? What's the logistics? When we finally do get in there, do we have to set a schedule of vendors coming, unloading, finding a place to park, and the second vendor coming? Is it going to be a 4-hour setup and a 4-hour teardown? There's so many questions. And then if we tell our membership and our customers, well, we're definitely on Maple Street until June, and then we'll let you know when we figure out what's going on in June, that's already disrupting our future business. So there's a lot of issues that you probably can understand from just a little bit of what I'm letting you know. So we need some kind of certainty of what we're looking at. So if we can maybe set a future meeting with your office to kind of get it in concrete. We'd love to be in that building as soon as it's ready, but maybe your idea of ready and our idea of ready may be two different things. So keeping that communication open and just, I'm compelling you guys, I'm asking you guys to please understand the undertaking that it takes every week to put this on for the public and to support our vendors. And uncertainty equals, problems.
Absolutely.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Cassie Deason. I'm a resident of Broad Acres Road in Queensbury. So I am technically a Queensbury resident, but my children attend Glens Falls. I was at the same meeting in March concerning the safety issues around the middle school and high school campus. I would also, my comments tonight and questions are going to piggyback what this group of 3 parents just voiced for their Bike Bus initiative. First of all, since the meeting a month ago, I had to take a deep dive to find out who to connect with for city government in terms of follow-up. So whether intentional or not, the lack of response is very indicative of where people stand in terms of the priority of the safety around the campus. So that's my first additional concern. However, after my persistence and several emails later, I did hear back from Ben, and he did connect me with some names, and did connect me with Aaron Frankenfeld, I believe his name is, who provided me with this survey that was done regarding traffic from July of 2024. That's a very thorough study, so comprehensive, great resource. That is July 2024, so we're nearing about the 9 to 10 month mark from that being published, the final result. So in looking at that, I'm just curious as to why measures like updated, straight, clear, visible signage, if that report comes out in July of 2024, before the new academic year started. I'm a little concerned why someone didn't, let's say, take a drive around the campus and say what signs should be replaced, can be straightened, what new signs do we need. Not sure that that's been done. Secondly, measures like the raised crossing and bump out on Fire Road, given as an example on page 18 of the report, that seems like something that would be very smart both on Sherman and Quaid. Nothing in terms of progress there. Thirdly, an example of an RRFB on Kensington Road, which is that flashing crosswalk sign. Again, seems like a pretty concrete, tangible effort that could be put in place from July of 2024 until the start of this new academic year. I don't see that anywhere around the high school or middle school campus. I am not a city engineer. I am not a city planner, but I really feel like we're missing the mark here. This study is great. I'm sure it costs the city resources in terms of hiring this group to do that, but yeah, we're not moving forward with any concrete steps. This group of parents, great job taking the initiative and planning that. We should really be behind that. Other measures to increase sidewalks, signage visibility, crossing guards, all these things that I said last month, still no progress. So in conclusion, I plan on attending the public safety meeting tomorrow. I went last month only to arrive and told it was canceled. I will be there tomorrow at 4 p.m. You can be assured. My last question is, well, a question and then a suggestion. In most organizations, there's a point person. So if this is an initiative that clearly is starting to get more and more momentum, who is the person who I'm going to contact one-on-one? Like I would like an email and a name. Is it the person who's the head of the safety board? Is there someone else? Is there a committee? That would be helpful information. That way I can cut down on the several emails I had to send to make any kind of progress. Secondly, since there is sort of these all seem like tangible to-do items, I think it would be a good idea on the website to maybe have a list of these items as they're being checked off, as we're making progress with them. I'm a stakeholder in the city and in the school district. Clearly these parents are as well. It would be really important to see that we're making progress to some of these measures, not just chasing our tails and having to come to meeting after meeting after meeting and not being heard. So if there is someone, again, perhaps a board of safety that could come up with a page on the city government website to say, this is what the study from July of 2024 found. These are steps that are within the budget now, or that we have the means to put into place now. These are things we are working for. This is 1 year, 2 year down the road. This might be 5 year. So that is a concrete suggestion for the future. And if I could have the name, again, contact information, either from the Board of Public Safety or elsewhere, that would be helpful.
You did get the email from Aaron Frankenthal, right?
Yes.
And it outlined all the things we've done and the grant we got and buying the safety things where we're at and the 3 more studies that are being done. Also the work that was done by Christine Degler already in changing. So it was in several steps, right? The findings of the study, the recommendations, what she was doing first, and then what we had applied for and did receive the grant money for the traffic calming devices. Right? So I just want to make sure you got that.
Yep, I'm referring to the study right now. I have it up on my phone.
So those things, and so we're meeting with Christine again tomorrow.
Yes, I'm aware of that.
And so you're welcome to come to that meeting. Those are, I would assume, so it was the school district that asked for the study to done. It worked with the city and then AGFTC, the Adirondack Glens Falls Transportation Council, that paid for the study. Those studies, those recommendations, were brought back to the school district. The school district said, we're going to do 1, 2, 3, and they've done those things. And then they were also, we had, at the same time, we had applied for grant money and I believe received it and haven't gotten, we've received the grant but haven't gotten the money yet. And that is for the traffic calming devices. And then the summer work of the additional of cleaning up some of the sidewalks. The school has done some of that, and then we have a plan in Christine Degler, and I believe it's all outlined in that email that you got from Aaron. But if it's not, you're welcome to come and we'll give you the contact. I think that Christine is the contact because she was the driving force, but the three people, my community development director, the director of Glens Falls, Adirondack Glens Falls Transportation, Mr. Frankenfeld, and the school district are the three entities that are working together. And it was me that sent your email to Aaron, and he wrote that response. So I thought that you had been responded to fairly quickly, but I'll take responsibility if you feel that you had to send too many and that nobody's taking action. There's certainly a ton of action. In addition to that, they're doing 3 more studies of those elementary schools. So I don't believe anything happens quickly in government, but there has been quite a bit of action and more happening as the cement gets going this year again, because I know that they've already identified the work they're doing. Councilman Lapham, several of the pieces missing, like of the sidewalk around the school district.
Each year, 3 years, around taking pictures of what continue to be defective APA ramps, crumbling sidewalks after somebody from the city had gone through and said, oh, it looks okay. So I feel your frustration. I've gone to 3 of the schools where they asked for like the rapid flashing beacons. We had money lined up from the hospital for a safe, active transportation grant, and had that lined up, but then it got pushed back on to do this study instead. There was one that was going to be paid for except for the electricity for the beacon, which would be very minimal, over by the Abraham Wing School. There was one that was from the retiring principal over at Big Cross. You were there for that. You heard as well as I did that they were interested because people were crossing over from Village Green Apartments over towards the hospital, and they wanted to have a flashing beacon in there because people drove through so quickly. And even though we had money lined up at that point, the city did not fulfill that. It's true.
I hear you.
So I understand your frustration, and I'm going to keep working with you and see what we can do. I think Elizabeth Hoffman at the hospital is still administering the active transportation aspect of that grant. We can talk with her too, see if we can get these things lined up and we can get these running. I've also said with my input on the monies that we have for fixing sidewalks, that we should be working from the school outward to get those things taken care of.
Did you make that recommendation to Jeremy?
Yes, I did.
On the things?
Yeah, I did.
Good for you.
So just to clarify, the point person is, what is that you said, your community?
A community development director
Okay,
is the
versus-
city's point person.
Versus the public safety.
Yeah, the Board of Public Safety, when that, as everything's in, the study, the findings, right? As we go, okay, Christine says this is the priority, this is what I'm doing. She changed some start times to see if that would alleviate the problem, right? There's a whole list of those things. When those are decided to be acted on, the Board of Public Safety considers them, make sure that we're not violating any public safety law, and approves them. So it's really that meeting in the school district driving it with the AGFTC funding that moves forward.
And then that meeting with Dr. Digler is when for tomorrow?
I'm sorry, I don't have my phone, but I tell you, you got your phone. Can you take my cell phone number?
Okay.
508-260-5895.
Okay.
And if you just send me a text in the morning, I'll send you a text to exactly what the time is. I apologize, I left my phone on my desk.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Committee reports. Councilman Donahue, committee reports? Yeah. Committee reports, sir? You have a committee?
We have a meeting of sustainability on Monday, April 15th at 5:45.
Thank you.
Monday's not April 15th. It's 14th.
14. Thank you. Councilman Lambert.
Thank you, Mayor. Personnel and Labor Committee continues its meetings with health insurance providers as we work to determine our course of business as we purchase health insurance for our employees in 2026. We'll be looking to possibly hold a workshop prior to the April 22nd Common Council meeting to discuss the specifics of our last 4 months' work, the pluses and minuses of the conversations to convert to self-insurance and to get some direction from the council on steps to either abandon this effort or to move forward with getting more specific costs and savings. Our day user task force, which really isn't a committee, but it functions like one, has started its efforts to provide a safe and quality of life environment in our city park and to address efforts to assist those individuals in need that often congregate in the park. This task force, I believe, has members across the social, business, and citizen spectrum dedicated to doing what is necessary while also doing what is beneficial to all day users of the park. An effort is full speed ahead to obtain grant funding from Warren County under the opioid settlement monies. Thank you to the subcommittee of the task force that has made this effort successful. Also, a meeting is planned with 6 to 10 downtown business people and city citizens to meet and discuss what they see as problems in the park and find out what they feel the fix to these problems are in their eyes. Lastly, I want to give an update on the work that's being done at the city-owned former Glens Falls Swim and Tennis property, which we've invested approximately $150,000 in ARPA money in. The city just completed a site cleanup, including needed environmental remediation. The site is also backfilled as needed after the removal of 2 buildings. Efforts will now be placed in working with Labella, who has been awarded a contract for concept and design work for a project to develop in the future regional environmental education. That development will be funded by grants and hopefully some local philanthropy as to create no burden on the local taxpayers. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Thomas.
Yes, the Building and Codes Committee met last night. We discussed a number of things. We looked at the form for short-term rentals now that our law has passed that the Building and Code staff would be sending out. PJ reported that he is working on a snow removal contract so that we can enforce the law we passed next year. And he also gave us a demonstration of Civics Gov and the new software we have. It looks like it's going to help streamline communication between the planning board, the zoning board, the city, things like that. It's almost completely up and running. There's just one part where they're having difficulty transferring data over from our old system. We also spent some time talking about the planning board and giving the planning board guidance. And I wanted to bring this up to the council and get your input on this. But as we all know, we're undergoing a comprehensive plan process right now. And then our goal after that is to do a zoning update, which is long overdue, and we need to overhaul our zoning code. The problem is that, it's a good thing, but the problem is that process may take a couple of years, right? Because the comprehensive plan process is starting now, and then we'll follow it with that. In the interim, we have so much interest in development in our city that projects are being approved that we will live with for years and years and years. And in speaking with planning board members and our architect, one of the problems is that our zoning code does not give real substantive ways that the planning board can enforce design aesthetic ideas for the city, right? So they're afraid of, I don't want to say afraid, but they're cautious of not being arbitrary in their decision making. So we talked about the idea of creating some interim design guidelines by creating a guidebook, and we could hire a design professional planner to do that. This has been done in other communities successfully, and I've also spoken with the staff at Warren County Planning about this, and I talked with the planning board chair and the architect, and we talked about it in committee, and it seems like everybody's kind of open to this idea because we all think that it would help the planning board to have some guidelines in place. And so what that would look like would be a visual guide by zone that would have pictures to reference and materials to use and things like that. So if there, this isn't free, we'd have to pay for it. So it's something that I'd like to know if the council's interested in us exploring and learning more. The process would involve doing an RFQ. It would be under the threshold of $25,000, so we wouldn't have to do an RFP. It would be doing an RFQ to hire a design professional, and then that person would work with the planning board, with the architect, to design the guidebook, and then that would be there in the interim until we can overhaul our zoning code. So I wanted to know what people thought about the idea. If we do want to move forward, Warren County planning staff is willing to come and assist us with getting this started.
Diane, if I could.
Yeah.
So is this, you're talking about developing a guidebook or actually enacting laws?
No, it's not, it's a guide.
It's a guide.
It's a guide. It's an interim design guide, which hopefully will be adopted formally when we do our code overhaul. But since we're going to be doing that comprehensively, right, the whole code, we don't want to rush that. We want to do a good job. We want to wait for funding, but that's a couple years out, and they need something now. So it's not as substantive as the whole code overhaul, but it's something.
So it would be advisory in nature?
It would be advisory in nature, but they'd have something to point to. It would give clear guidance to the developers who come here, like this is what the community is looking for. And, it would be a message from the Common Council that we commissioned this, we worked on it, and then they can say, this is what our community is wanting. Yeah.
It would give examples of things that in the city are considered either historic or in line with the things that the city is looking to extend upon, rather than just kind of what is the market for things. That is kind of what's missing in the code right now, too.
I know that the comprehensive plan that Leslie Zlotov just recently told the comprehensive plan committee that she believes that that they should stay and work on code is the next thing, and that they're finishing the comprehensive plan, I think around the first of the year, maybe February. So, and it doesn't, the comprehensive plan have to point towards what that rezoning is, and so you're thinking to get out ahead of it and create a guidebook that would then looked at by that committee as they move forward?
So yes, we definitely want to follow the comprehensive plan with a code, a zoning code overhaul. That was at least my intention from the beginning. I know when we were having our ARPA meetings, I had asked, can we put some money aside for zoning because we want to do that.
Right.
I think we all want to do that. It's just that when we finish the comprehensive plan, we can then apply for more funding from Leslie and the Department of State to do a zoning update.
Yeah.
But that process, by the time we finish the comprehensive plan, then get those funds and then do the zoning update, it's going to be a little ways out, right? That's not bad.
Sure,
That's the
6
process.
months, yeah.
It's not 6 months, no. You think we're going to be able to finish a zoning update in 6 months? The comprehensive plan isn't even set to be finished in 6 months.
Sure it is, about 6 months, yes it is. And so, again, I'm fine, I think you should speak to the Sue Carvana and the community development director and see, because that is exactly what they're saying.
I talked to Lisa Nagel from EDR, who's doing our comprehensive plan, and she understood exactly what I was talking about, and she said that we'd do an RFQ and see who applied, but she said they could even amend their contract to include the interim design guidelines potentially if we wanted to go that route, or we could see what other quotes come in. But the goal is just to give us something now, so that we can give a tool to our planning board members so they have something to point to when people come with projects, and the issues are more about the aesthetics than anything else. And right now our code is very vague. It is. It says like in keeping with the neighborhood, things like that. And I think that there really is an apprehension because they don't have something substantive to point to. So I'm just asking if the council is open to us exploring it. We're not, making a decision, but our committee discussed it last night. Our planning and zoning staff, our building and codes department head, our fire inspector, and a couple of council members that were there. We all felt it was worth talking about. Does anyone have any thoughts on that?
No, listen, it's probably not a bad idea. Architectural review is something that we don't have in the city.
Right.
I've complained about no architectural review for a long, long time. I think that the things that come up that become items of contention, unfortunately, with developers is, is it historic, is it old, is the design in line with what we have throughout the city? And I think as we go forward in the city, it's probably not a bad idea. But, if it's advisory in nature in the beginning, I would then like to have a separate discussion when we get done with the comprehensive plan to determine how much we want to make law.
Oh, for sure. I agree. We need to
Right.
codify it in the
Right.
code, but
Exactly.
that's just coming down the road a little bit. So our next committee meeting is going to be April 29th at 5:30 p.m. and I've invited Warren County planning staff to attend that meeting. I'll also extend an invitation to any planning board members or architect or whoever, anyone who wants to come, but we're just going to discuss it, and I wanted to let you know that was something that we're talking about.
And if we know that the comprehensive plan is supposed to be wound up by a certain date, that would be good information for us to have.
Great.
Yeah, I think that I heard, I didn't see it posted, maybe we did and I missed it, but I did hear from one of the members that the public meetings are set to start.
That's correct.
Can you tell me the date of that?
I'm sorry, I don't have my calendar with me, but I'll certainly make sure. I think I know that they were, they sent out an email and I would have assumed you were on it, so I'll make sure you get that right away, okay?
I don't think, did we get, did the council?
I
get
didn't
any?
see it.
Okay, yeah, I just heard, public meetings were gonna start, so I definitely think, if I didn't hear, the public probably didn't, so we need to get that out there because we want their input. And that's all I have for the committee report.
Thank you. Councilman Lapp?
The technology committee will be meeting on April 28th at 4:30 p.m.
Thank you. Councilwoman Good, committee report? Next up, we go to voice vote. One is a resolution to approve the minutes of March 25th, 2025, regular meeting of the Glens Falls County Council. Two is a resolution to approve the clerk's monthly and PVB report. And three is a resolution to approve the Controller's Office manual check distribution report. Do we have a motion for voice vote? So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Is there any, I have on roll call vote, I asked our water and sewer superintendent, Bill Norton, to come and talk to us, so I want to pull just so that he can tell us about resolutions 7, 8, and 9. Are there any other that the council would like to pull?
4, please.
4.
Mayor, I don't need to have it pulled, but could I ask you a couple of questions on top of this,
Mm-hmm.
please? Number 14, we're going to buy some AEDs. We're getting the newer AEDs that also include the Narcan dispensers.
That's a question. Does it also include the Narcan dispensers?
I'm just curious.
I don't know.
Okay, you can find out. I did.
Who do we also, just about that as well, who do we have on staff who's certified in AED? I imagine the firefighters all are.
Yeah.
Police maybe?
I think, Ben, that those things are developed so that anybody.
No, they're not. You have to be certified to use an AED device.
I would check that out.
No,
I had it in the housing authority.
there is a training that you need to complete to be able to use an AED device.
So you want to know about certifications for AEDs?
Yep.
And we want to understand if it includes Narcan.
Auto emergency defibrillator.
I know I had to be Narcan trained, but
I think any of those things you want to have sufficient training for. So I'm kind of curious about who's already training for
Yeah.
AED.
I would, and I don't mind listening, you're absolutely right, because it creates liability for the city. The only reason I make that comment is I just took the training down at the Conklin Center. And it lasted less than an hour, and most of it was CPR, not AEDs. It just basically said, these things are wonderful, you can take them out, you put them on, you put the paddle on somebody, and it tells you whether you ought to use it or not.
I'm concerned about what her training was, if that's the case.
It was put, hold on a second, it was put on by the Red Cross, so maybe they're not qualified. I'd like to ask my second question.
Yes, sir.
On number 19, I'm not sure who should be discussing this, but we're issuing year-long permits for outside dining, and in most cases, that's in downtown Glens Falls.
That's correct.
And those outside dining permits tell people exactly what they have to do with that piece of property that belongs to the city, as far as where their tables are, how far they have to be apart, how much room you have to leave for sidewalk and everything like that.
That's correct.
And there's absolutely nothing mentioned in there about snow removal on properties that we're issuing a permit for, and I'd like that looked into. If that could be done. Listen, every business downtown doesn't have outside dining, but whatever we could do to assist in snow removal issues that we have in the city, I think we ought to look into.
So you're asking for snow removal language?
Yeah, that could be,
to
there's
the
somehow that could be
code.
added in. Right. That's all.
Thank you.
And, are you done? I didn't want to step
Oh,
on
yeah,
your toes.
absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I see that Jeff is here, and I see that that grant that I have been questioning is back on. So I'm wondering if maybe Jeff could just tell us about it, since we are voting on it now and you're here. I don't know if that's
Sure.
now or
No,
later.
no.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, just real briefly, and I apologize for not having been.
What number?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
23 and 24. 23 is actually required for the grant, 24 is the actual reissue of the initial resolution. This is just a fund for grants for the Northern Borders Regional Council. It's a state-federal partnership that looks for primarily economic development projects. And in many ways, these are sort of indirect. A lot of NBRC projects are infrastructure projects specifically, but there's a new program last year actually called the Catalyst Program, and really focuses more on excuse me, the kind of economic development that really talks about sort of drawing people in and business development and things. I took advantage of that, the lack of background information the last council meeting or two ago, at the mayor's suggestion, to get an economic development committee and community development committee meeting. So Councilman Clark, who's of course not here tonight, and Councilman Landry and Councilman Gooden, we met to sort of go over that. This particular grant is looking at, essentially it's a budget relieving grant to help underwrite some of the costs of the 36 Inc. building, the building that the city is helping to renovate in anticipation of the LEC's lease of that space come fall, as soon as the CO is issued. So this is a grant that could be for as much as $500 million. And this would be a matching grant. It's only an 80-20 match, so it's a little more favorable than a past grant we tried for the same funds, or to cover some of the same expenses. And so this was the purpose of this grant. And the idea would be it's not only the fit out of the 36-inch space, to design and build out, but also some of the miscellaneous equipment and things for the market center. And if you look at the back of materials I gave you, it sort of gives some highlights of the specific focus of this grant.
So it's for the building we're leasing, not the market?
The building the LEC will be leasing, right? That was part of the fit out, right? And that was in the approved budget that the council approved back in the fall. So this would be roughly a 50-50 more or less of the budget line for the fit out of 36 Inc.
So if you get it, it will relieve 50% of what's currently in the budget.
Roughly 450 to 500,000 of the 930,000 that was approved.
For the equipment for the market and the commercial kitchen?
Correct.
And the match will come from?
The match has already been provided in the budget that was approved back in the fall.
does it come from the general fund? Do we have?
No, from the actual approved budget. That's the budget, yeah, the band.
Yeah, the band that was approved, the 14.9 million, that, the entire amount is included in that. So this, any grant with proceeds would be relieving that budget.
And so you already submitted the pre-application, right?
Correct, which was approved.
It was approved.
It was.
Okay. So now we're applying for.
Correct. And this was done on very short notice for reasons you can imagine. As a federal state partnership, some of these things have been very fluid, for want of a better term. But this one looks like it's a pretty solid grant.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Thanks. For number 4, since Bob just to ask a question, could we do something to circle around to clean up chapter 156? Because like that chapter, section 156, the 13, where it's the exemptions, is, for example, really crazy sounding.
You're right. Well, and that exemption is a caveat that I'm sure that our clerk already explained. And so if you have any questions out of
No, I'm saying to clean up
the entire thing.
yeah.
With you. So
Yeah.
we can go ahead and look at that language, but those questions were answered in the email. Just so you know,
They're
in the clerk's email. Not the,
I'm going to say I would like to have a stipulation that we go back and look at all of section 156.
okay. And that's
From a clerk standpoint, office standpoint, our intention with this, 156 needs to be cleaned up all the way around,
Yep.
and we completely agree with that. Our intention of this
Let's to
is really
expedite
just,
things.
the only thing that this is really doing is removing the fees to be able to offer those to our vendors, and this absolutely, it needs to be.
lowering the fees, making them consistent.
Well, removing the, removing the fees from the local law, from the law.
Thank you.
And creating a fee schedule so it's outside of our code. However, we do agree that chapter 156 as a whole needs to be looked at. It's just from a timing standpoint, I don't think it's something that should be rushed either. So that was more so our thought process, but we agree, absolutely.
Thank you. So instead of pulling 7, 8, 9, why don't we, Bill, why don't you come on up and tell us all about it? And we'll have a big roll call vote instead of a few separates. How are you tonight?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Unfortunately, I don't have an agenda in front of me, so if you could tell me.
Here. 7, 8, 9, you'll see my names next.
Thank you. All right, first resolution number 7 is to approve amendment number 2 for the electrical system upgrade project. Part of the evaluation when they came in and were doing their 60% walkthrough, they noticed that to meet today's codes, the MCCs were too small to house any kind of instrumentation and fiber optic cables per today's code. So they had to go in and put in 2 additional boxes and run all of those fiber optics, which is for instrumentation in our SCADA system that controls most of our facility. And in order to do that, it was outside the initial contract price. So first they started at 100,000, and we whittled it down and whittled it down. And then they got to 60. Then we removed some stuff out of the original contract and got it down to the 18.9 as for their second amendment.
Any questions?
Again, they were talking about fiber optics and bringing these cables in, and they can't be bent like just normal wires. They've got to have a radius of a bend when they come through these panels.
Thanks, Bill.
Any questions on that? Okay, thank you. Resolution to approve from 3 quotes, lowest responsible bid from Service Unlimited for a repair on Maple Street. We were called to Maple Street, and our field crew opened up hole to replace a lateral line leading into the Maple Street sewer. It was a 24-inch sewer. When Dan Gerard and his crew got there, they opened it up, and there was all the pipe had collapsed. 24-inch pipe, should be round like this. So when they got there and they couldn't find a piece of pipe to connect to, they brought the camera system that we just purchased, which is invaluable, but also it finds a lot of problems. So when they TV'd the line, the whole line was cracked from manhole to manhole, and instead of being round, it was oblong, meaning that it started to almost collapse on itself. It's an old clay pipe. It's a 24-inch pipe that's no longer needed because of all the CSO work that we've done in that area, removing the stormwater and separating those two systems. So that's why, if you had seen the quotes, we went with a 12-inch line, so that we're going to run it from manhole to manhole, from Charity Current. It's a 300-foot stretch. There's 8 laterals on that line. We got the 3 quotes. Service Unlimited, who's done work for us and very satisfactory work, was a lower price, so we wanted to go ahead. And the reason we're trying to do it quickly and it's an emergency is because we have a steel plate there, and at any time this could get worse. If we did it with our own crews, it would probably take us 3 or 4 months because we'd be getting pulled off. We just assisted with the DPW at the rink, doing all test bits for them for the DEP. DEC. So that's why it was suggested to go and get 3 quotes as soon as we could.
You said Service Unlimited has done work for you.
Yes.
They've done work like this. I mean, this sounds pretty expensive.
Yes. Yes. I made sure of that. I asked Dan if they've done similar work for him, and he said yes, and they've done work throughout the city. And they happen to be right there. Their offices are right there.
Yeah.
So, any questions on that?
So we have like a $32 million bond out for replacing the water infrastructure in the city. This is sewer infrastructure.
Correct.
How much would it take to address the sewer needs in the city? For like these ancient pipes, especially on the east side?
I would imagine it would be at least a similar price, if not more, because you'd be looking at different size pipe. I know we're looking at different size pipe, but most of our mains are maybe upwards of 16 water mains. That's 20-inch our main distribution around the city, and then it branches off into smaller and smaller pipes. Our smallest sewer pipes are usually 8 inches, and then they get bigger from there.
What's the age of our infrastructure around the city for a sewer?
A sewer like this is probably early 1900.
So
it's time.
At the end of it.
It's time. The other problem with the 24 inches is when we removed all of that water, it doesn't get the flushing that it needs. So a lot of that water sits there and goes a little bit septic, so you get hydrogen sulfide, and that's corrosive to the pipes and to the manholes. So that leads to deterioration in the pipes and things like that. So with the, not only will we be able to move the flow quicker through the 12-inch pipe, but it's also a PVC pipe. So that's what's called a C factor. It's a lot smoother, so the flow goes a lot quicker.
And you mentioned the sewer and stormwater detangling.
Yeah, they were separated in that part of the city.
So that's kind of like that's when that happened.
Yeah.
How far along are we in that, and are we under any compliance orders with that?
No, we're not under. We have a long-term control plan that was part of the order that was took care of that. We still have that plan. We're constantly looking at it because what happens is during heavy storms, and I know a lot of us saw that over the weekend on Saturday morning when we got a torrential downpour. Then we had Lincoln Avenue, and we had some of the repair washout over on Sherman. So, yeah,
well,
and then Mr. Pickford.
That repair, I think, is on a clean water line.
It is, but that's what happens in these repairs. You know, when you get those inundations and they find a little crack and it just starts eating away, and then corrodes down and then packs the soil, and then that's why we'll go back, like I said, and once we get some cement work done, we'll go back, dig out that coal patch and replace it with the cement. So,
So to Councilman Lapham's question, correct me if I'm wrong, because you know these numbers better than I do, but it was 15 years ago that we were under a consent order from DEC. We were doing about 44 overflows a year.
correct.
And we spent $17 million and
Sewer separation.
Sewer and water separation, and we reduced that to about 14. And if I remember Steve Gersler saying, during that same period of time, the heavy storms had increased tenfold.
It's not the amount of storms, it's the intensity. So we may get less storms, but we're getting storms that dump an inch to 3/4 of an inch to an inch and a half in a short period of time. We can deal with an inch and a half, 2 inches of rain over a 24 or 30 hour period. But when that comes down in hours instead of days, that's when we run into issues. That's when our system gets inundated and we start flooding in. What we've done is where there isn't any existing stormwater system, we've put in dry wells. Now dry wells can only take so much water that quickly. They work very well, but sometimes when you get these inundated storms, it takes time for that flow and that water to go down, and that was the instance on Lincoln.
Could I ask you that maybe next month you come and we could do a workshop? There's been questions about long-term infrastructure when you and I, we both happened to come to work at the same time. When we looked at the total infrastructure issues and I wouldn't say issues, they're ongoing, they'll never end. They always are, they're forever ending, right, in every community in the country. And one of the reasons we're not scoring that high on the next item here anyway, can you come and we can remind everybody of the bigger picture? If we were to replace everything tomorrow, if money wasn't an object, what we would replace, and then...
I would just say that we're talking about like 100-year-old infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to start putting that onto some sort of schedule, or we're going to just be spending a lot of money to just fix one thing and chase one thing and never get ahead.
Well, I'm saying we have a schedule, and that was the reason that you got the four water grants that we applied for to bond, so we could apply for those applications. So I'm saying have a workshop where we can review that to long-term plan.
As I remember, that was about $32 million to replace just the water infrastructure within city limits, and then $14 million for the electrical upgrade, and then $3.5 million for one of those diversion.
The Washington Street sewer
Washington
separation project.
Yeah, so
and that's again what we were going to do, and we just got done with the Elm Street project. We just got done with the Webster Avenue project.
Those were the prioritized ones.
What's that?
So I'd like to see in the roadmap
Western Washington.
replacing the sewer infrastructure is.
I don't remember. I'd have to look at that project to
and also the broadcast of the water infrastructure from the reservoir down to the city.
the transmission lines.
Yes, those are also around the same age, I believe.
At the same, if not older, and, you know, that's one of the things. We have the intakes that need to be reunited. The 3 intakes for Keenan, Butler, and Wilkie. Those need to be addressed. The transmission lines coming from those 3 along Aviation Road down to the Upper Junction building. And then the transmission lines there's 2 transmission lines from there. One was abandoned years ago because it was an old, not repairable pipe. So we're on one line there. We are fortunate in the city, the fact that we have the upper reservoir, we have the lower reservoir, upper watershed, lower watershed, halfway broke. And we also have an interconnection with Queensbury that allows us to either take water or give water to Queensbury in case of any kind of emergency. So we do have options, but again, these are antiquated systems. They're old, no doubt, but they're engineering marvels, really. If you go back to it and you look at it, the forefathers of Glens Falls were very thoughtful in the land acquisitions of Queensbury and those water bodies.
Bill, you mentioned the cameras that you said are really helpful to be able to see the problems. Are we proactively using them? Like not just to go see if there is a problem, what's wrong, but to investigate and prepare?
We're as proactive as we can be when we're not being pulled off a different. That's the problem. We'd love to get out there every day and have a dedicated crew to do that. But when these emergencies, whether it's Maple Street, or whether it's a water main, or whether current lane and all the other issues that we've had, that we get pulled off. And usually sewers are pretty good, but as soon as a water main break comes in, you have to jump on that right away.
So we're more using them when something happens to diagnose the problem.
Yes, and before we knew we had that tool, we'd have to get a contractor in at very high rates to do that. But Dan and the crew, they've used it very well, and that's one of 3 pieces of equipment that we got through ARPA funding that they've been very successful with utilizing and helping out.
When you do it a schedule, it's just hard to skip to it because of all the work that goes on. You do have a schedule to look at. It's like a goal. If you and I, when we talked about this, you have a goal to scan a certain amount of them, and you've got record of it on that.
Yes, we would love to do that if we could get to it, and when we get to it. So if there are downtimes, yes, they go out and they give you lines and say, we were having issues here, we got called to this sewer line, 3 times over the last 4 months. They'll go and they'll do that line, and then they'll go back to a historic line that they know was issues during that period. Anything else? Okay, and number 9 is just a transfer of funds from one line item because they don't have enough money in the other line item to complete the repair on Maple Street.
Take my hand.
I thought, I already answered from it.
So with that, do we have a motion for a roll call vote?
So moved.
A second? Second. Roll call vote, please. Sorry. Yeah, we'll do it. Sorry, I apologize. 4 is a resolution to adopt proposed local law 2025 to amend chapter 156, peddling, soliciting transient merchants, 156-17, license fees and peddling, and 156-35 fees. 5 is a resolution to approve mobile food unit license, peddling, soliciting fee, and schedule. 6 is a resolution to adopt proposed local law -25 to amend city code 153, parks and recreation, and 91, dogs, based on recommendation from Recreation Commission. 7 is a resolution to approve the increase in fees to Wright Pierce in the amount of $18,900 for engineering services and related to electrical system upgrades at the water and sewer plant, and it recommends the council for approval to authorize the mayor to enter into a contract approved by city attorney. 8 is a resolution to approve 3 quotes, the lowest, most responsible bid from Services Unlimited for a quote of $97,258, and recommends it to the common council for approval for a sewer repair, and to authorize the mayor to enter into a contract approved by the city attorney. 9 is a resolution to authorize the city controller's office to transfer funds in the amount of $30,000 from water and sewer F78310-4479 and place into sewer fund account G78120-4479 to pay for emergency repair for the 24-inch sanitary sewer on Maple Street between Center and Cherry Street. 10 is a resolution to approve a request to set a public hearing on the city's entitlement community development block grant program on April 22nd, 2025 at 7:25 for the Community Development Office to provide an update on the program's accomplishments during 24 and seek input to guide the development of the program for the upcoming year. 11 is a resolution authorizing community development manual payments in the amount of $25,583.24 to reimburse expense not-for-profits in support of low and moderate income residents per fiscal year 2024 agreements with the Glens Falls Area Youth Center, Glens Falls Senior Center, Hamilton, Warren Hamilton Community Action Agency, the Conklin Center to pay CT Mal for successfully providing project documentation, etc., to rehabilitation project and to pay CT Mal for expenses included, set up a vacant rental program funded by New York Housing and Community Renewal. 12 is a resolution to approve the extension of the 2025 mowing in the city-owned landfill bid CGF 23-02 to the Garden Barn LLC, who agreed to hold the same price for 2025. The price is $12,750 for 3 mowings a year. 13 is a resolution to decrease A67020-1000 personnel by $1,078.23 and increase A67020-2500 other equipment by $1,078.23 to purchase office furniture for the Recreation Department as attached. 14 is a resolution to decrease A67020-1000 by $6,345 and increase A67020-4479 other equipment by $6,345 to purchase 5 AED defibrillators for city parks and playgrounds as required by New York State law. 15 is a resolution to increase code A009999-1589 miscellaneous public safety income by $9,240 and increase expense code A23120-1100 police department overtime by $9,240 for school resource officer services. 16 is a resolution to increase revenue code A009999-1589 miscellaneous public safety income by $5,925.53 and increase expense code A23120-1100 police department overtime by $9,525.53 for school officer services at school events. 17 is a resolution to increase revenue code A009999-1589 public safety income by $3,233.40 and increase expense code A23120-1100 police department overtime by $3,233.40 for officer services during municipal event. 18 is a resolution to decrease A11990-9000 contingency by $381 and increase A11910-4470 city insurance by $381 to add to the new GGFT Ford Transit ambulance for city's auto insurance policy. 19 is a resolution to approve outside dining permit renewal number 6-2025, which allows for the placement of chairs and tables at businesses for the period of June 1st, 2025 through May 31st, 2026, while in compliance with PROAG regulations for public access on the sidewalk, as shown in their approved layout. 20 is a resolution to approve encroachment permits number 19, 2025 through 23, 2025. 21 is a resolution to approve the following encroachment permits number 12-2025 through 18, 2025 is approved by Mayor Collins on March 6, 2025 based on approved layouts in compliance with PROAG regulations. 22 is a resolution to approve mobile food license applications number 2022-2025 and 2024-2025 and 40-2025. 23 is a resolution authorizing Esplin Collins, Mayor of the City of Glens Falls, to act on behalf of the City of Glens Falls as authorized official on matters pertaining to Northern Border Regional Commission, Catalyst Program grant application, and subsequent implementation of NBRC grant funding of the city's 2025 application if is successful. 24 is a resolution to prepare and submit full application. The city is authorized to proceed to NBRC for a fee not to exceed $5,800 to be covered with the available economic development funding under the previously approved city budget. 25 is a resolution to approve the purchase of a flex action infield finisher with leveler and manual operated plow through New York State contract MA FAC 1116 is awarded to MTE Equipment Studio Solutions for $28,540.80. Financing will be through Univest Capital for $10,494.35 per year for 3 years. The city will own the finisher at the end of the lease. The monies for the finisher are in A67040-2500 as attached. 26 is a resolution to approve the warrant. Do we have a motion for a roll call vote? I believe we do. We have a second. Roll call vote, please.
Councilman Donovan?
Yes.
Councilman Lander?
Yes.
Councilwoman Palmer?
Yes.
Councilman Michael?
Yes.
And Councilwoman Dean?
Yes.
Thank you. Old business, Councilman Donahue.
Well, I'm just getting older, you know.
You're just getting old.
Nothing at this time.
Thank you.
There's a few little things, but I'll bring them up later.
Okay. Councilman Lander.
Thank you. The recent announcement about an elevated bond rating for the city of Glens Falls is a reflection of the good financial decisions made by the Aikens, Hall, and Collins administration and their respective councils, and I know that some of you here were involved in that. To go from trouble to A1 in 10 years is all but not heard of. It will definitely benefit the city as it moves forward during these exciting times.
Thank you, sir. Old business, Councilman Palmer.
Yes, first I just wanted to thank the clerk's office for all your work on that, and your patience with all the questions. I appreciate it. I also wanted to mention, I had asked a couple of months ago about doing an impact analysis of federal funding, and I had also asked about maybe convening some community stakeholders to talk about it, and I'm sure you all saw that, you know, we're starting to see the ripple effects in our community with childcare, right? The Warren County announced that there's going to be a waiting list for anybody, any new applicants, or anybody who needs to recertify their childcare application. And Head Start is struggling with funding. So I just think that these changes are going to continue to potentially affect our community, and I'd like to see us really take a good preparatory look at how it might impact not just the city budget, but also just our community and how we can band together and help in some way. Because I really do think that these, I mean, it's already starting to happen. So.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
Especially, it just keeps getting worse, right?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Take a look. Any other old business, sir? Any other?
Oh, no, I'm done.
And Councilman Lappin?
Thank you. I just would take this time to go over a couple of things, items that I brought up previously. Still looking for clarity from the Michelle McFerrin death in the blue box. I know that the chief had something that he said. I just would also say that the chief does owe to the council an explanation beyond, I believe he said, as any member of the public. There is within the charter the ability to solicit testimony if this continues to be in a position of not being forthcoming with details. I know that he said that the state investigator is still working on it. I would like to have some update on that from him. He said that I could stop by his office, but my hours are his hours. So I would need to arrange something with him, and I haven't heard from him since then. I would like to know exactly what policies we have for the specific things without talking in any sort of detail. And he said with that I would be welcome to stop by. That isn't sufficient for me. I tried to get a time that I could call him. So I'm trying to follow up with that. 56 Walnut was the one. From what I've heard with that, there's about a 2-month extension for them to be able to get it off the closed state so that it conforms. So that's still ongoing. 26 Leonard, I believe, is a flip-flop of different people. I asked Chuck to, as he sees things, to report it, to,
Same thing, it's garbage in the bag, couches, you name it. Nothing's changed.
well, if it is,
23 is, I think, 23 Leonard.
and that's another one.
This guy's doing his own construction business over there.
Have you reported that to the Building Codes Department? Ed? So
Brought it up.
that's the only thing to do.
That's something he already said to me, they know what's going on,
Yeah, they'll tell you where they are in the process.
They
And any
make
concern you
that
have.
much noise, I'm sure, in plowing up the land.
Yeah, I would say go to the website, report a concern, and then just check for it. And we do get a report from Buildings and Codes each month.
Chuck pointed that out to me.
Gotcha.
He said, this is even worse than Leonard.
23, so 23 and 26. 134 Maple Street has a brand new huge hole in it from the winter. I don't know what the follow-up was with that. I heard from PJ a couple of months ago that it was going to be banded together with several properties, but I haven't heard anything subsequent to that.
Is that the one where they put the steel in the...
That's the one where they ripped off the porch, and there's a big hole over in the roof now going up from the drip edge.
Right.
So you probably fit like, a canoe in the exposed hole. And that's the one that's on the National List of Historic Places. And I would also just like to ask if there's something that we can do from a code standpoint to give us a little bit more leeway to intervene when it is based on the National List of Historic Places, because this place is going to rot to the ground. Elm Street and South Street, I was there last night. I walked through there. The signage still seems deficient, but it looks like they're trying to comply somewhat. I reached out to Jeremy and to PJ about what their thoughts were on it. I'm still going to continue looking at it. That's an encroachment that we've approved through September. So I would like to get it to a point where people can feel safe crossing the street there. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. New business, Councilwoman Gooden, I apologize. Old business. Yeah. No, it wasn't. I'm sorry.
Actually, I just wanted to make a comment that to thank, really, while I was away, and I wrote something because I didn't want to forget. So while I was away, I had the opportunity to tune in live on YouTube and watch the work continue here at City Hall. It reminded me just how grateful I am for the tremendous people who keep things running smoothly behind the scenes. I want to give a special shout out to Emily Neal, our Deputy City Clerk, for all the hard work she does, to our attorney, Karen Judd. She's at so many meetings, and she's always on point. To Peter Pape, who's always there behind the scenes filming so that it is available to us. Your dedication, professionalism, and support makes a real difference in how we serve our community. From legal guidance to technical operations and everything in between. Thank you for helping keep things moving forward with transparency and care. Thank you for your hard work and commitment. Thank you to the mayor for always keeping me abreast on everything that's going on. When I had questions, he was right there to answer. This is really a special city, a special community, and I really thank all of you behind the scenes. It makes a difference when you're not here. You still can know what's going on. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Welcome back.
Appreciate it.
New business, Councilman Donahue. Huh? Okay. Councilman Lamb.
Thank you, Mayor. I can never say enough about our professional firefighters. What they accomplished and what they were recognized to do tonight is just another day in the office for them. They do that every day. They put their lives on the line. They provide services that are just exemplary. And I don't think we recognize it enough. I was glad to see what happened here tonight. And I would hope that the fire chief would do that more often to recognize that. I'd also like to acknowledge an email that was sent to all of us regarding Common Council meeting structure. I believe that the recommendation of Emily and Megan is a great start to a discussion we very badly need to have to assure that these meetings run properly and professionally while maintaining our responsibility to the public. I'd also like to congratulate a new downtown business, a restaurant on South Street called Cleon. The restaurant is owned by two local gentlemen who grew up in Glens Falls and now return to help our efforts and theirs to prosper in downtown Glens Falls. I wish the best of success to Jacob White and Chris and Sarah Matt, the new owners of Cleon Restaurant on South Street, and welcome them to Glens Falls. Thank you.
Thank you. New business, Councilwoman Palmer.
I have no new business.
New business, Councilman Lavin.
I just wanted to respond to the city's statement of the bond rating that Councilman Landry spoke to before. While it's very good to hear that you have a good bond rating, I'm concerned that we, in just discussions today, that we have 32 million, 14 million, 3.5 million, and bonds that were approved a couple of years ago that have not been acted upon. And then in discussions today, so that totals 49.5 that we already knew about. Discussions today, we're looking at probably another 60 million and things that need to be done in terms of getting the very aged sewer system together, any additional sewer and stormwater detanglement completed, and replacement of the infrastructure from our reservoirs to transmission into the city. That's over $100 million of needed infrastructure investment. I'd like to see, the mayor had said that there's a roadmap for that. I would like to see that, and I'd like to share that with the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Good, new business.
Well, I just wanted to comment on Murray Street. It's good to see that the field house is down and a new one's coming up. And so exciting. I'm so happy that that's finally happened. It was much needed, but it's good to see it's come to fruition. So thank you to DPW and the rec department. And it's just good to see Glens Falls moving forward, and our parks are looking great. So thank you.
Thank you. I just would like to, the last thing I'll say about the Moody's is that they certainly are aware of the city's long-term infrastructure needs. The controller and I had a long conversation with them. They're aware. Every community in the state, and probably in the country, but certainly in New York State, faces the same challenges that Glens Falls does. I think that's why we should ask our superintendent to come back and have a workshop. I don't know if a map is what I'd say, but we certainly had a list, didn't we, Bill? And it's pretty astounding, and it's one of the reasons that we spent half of the ARPA money on water and sewer projects, and they never seem to end. And so it was great to have that conversation with an outside rating firm and to have them confirm what we've been talking about, how proud we are of the financial stability of the city of Glens Falls. And with that, we'll open back up to public comment. Is there anybody from the council or from the community who'd like to address the council? Again, hi, how are you, Sean? Yeah, just tell us your name again.
Sean Palladino, 32 Pier Bend, and last Monday I stumbled upon the city task force led by two of the council people, and really wonderful discussion. And I was very happy that Raymond and another woman that was sort of talked about Ascend Mental Wellness, which their new building on 37 Chester is really cool, and I think it's going to be huge as a way to sort of direct people that are spending time in City Park to this lovely facility with like public seating, and there's a meditation room, and they're going to have like art exhibits or like art like gatherings where people can just make art and stuff. It's really cool, and I'm glad that Ascend Mental Wellness is going to be a part of the city task force. And it was lovely to see you guys.
You too. Thank you.
And
Come again.
and it was really cool, like that you accepted my little proposal for a what was it, the mission statement?
Mission
Yes.
statement.
Yep.
That'll be discussed Thursday.
This coming Thursday.
Well, we're going to talk about that, and that'll be one of the things that we'll bring up, is we wanted some input, and I was happy to have you give us some, so thanks.
Nice. When is the next one, actually?
Thursday at 11 o'clock.
Can't make it on Thursday. When's the next one after that?
We're really kind of scheduling one to the next. It's a pretty big group. I also want to thank you for offering to participate. We got a list. We're probably going to need some more people down the road. We're really going from one meeting to the next, because when you take 11 to 15 people and say, okay, when can everybody show up so that we have a good number of people, is hard. So, but we'll post it on the website.
All right. Thanks so much.
Yeah, nice.
Not seeing any other public input. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Oh.
Second.
All in favor? Adjourn.